is nice here in Montana.
Yeah, it is. Beautiful in Vermont. Magnificent in Maine. Dude, did you just like jump in and be first and you said Jew 3 times? I'm not even gonna ban you because Jew is not offensive. Just saying Jew. Jew is okay. When you say something stupid though, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it, boy. You're gonna get it, boy. Well, I'll tell her to carry you anyway. I'm not gonna cry about it. Oh, I'll tell her unbanned you. Oh,
Well, you're on thin ice now,
yeah,
bro.
that's a rarity, dude. I think maybe one other time in the history of Highdeology have I seen Otello unban a person. You're on the thinnest of ice, man. You just don't know. You too, buddy. Get a get a PFP. Get a profile pic. The guy that said Jew got unbanned. The guy that just posted hello had a profile pic got nuked. I love it, dude. I love it. A wonderful start. Wonderful start to today's festivities.
Everyone was getting off easy when I wasn't looking at the chat. I started looking the past couple times.
Yeah. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for a neighbor. Could you be mine? Would you be mine? It's a neighborly day in the beauty wood. Beautiful day for a neighbor. Could you be mine? Would you be mine? I've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. Always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you, so let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? I solved the labor shortage. Just join the military. If that's you say you're kayfabing, but that's pretty much what they're doing, I think.
Yeah, they had like fucking National Guard teaching or some shit.
Mm-hmm. Coffee and a smoke in the morning. What could be better? Not much. Man. Not much. Do you like going out to eat alone? No. I don't really like going out to eat all that much, period. Going out to eat alone. I've done it a few times. I think the last time that I went out to eat alone a lot was right after Ashley and I broke up. I was living in a hotel while she packed her things, and the hotel had a Waffle House in the same parking lot. And so twice a day I went and sat in the Waffle House and made myself eat some food. That's not diner, is it? No. That's a way too normal, non-screechy one. Mm-hmm. Oh, hello there, Mr. Naughty Priest. Thank you.
Is he out here? Yeah, he is. He's a better dog than the one across the fence.
Maybe. As appreciated as always, Mr. Naughty Priest. You the man. You the man with the master plan. You named your puppy McMurphy after the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You named him R.P. McMurphy. What do you think of pugs? What do I think of them? Pugs? They're cute. It's kind of sad that they have so many like problems. All the dogs that have those like flatter faces have like pretty horrible breathing problems, especially when they get older.
I think they have a tendency to get overweight too, so it's like that plus the breathing just.
Yep. But they're adorable little dogs. Very cute. I just don't know that I would ever like adopt a full blood pug. I've seen some like pug mixes, and man, dude, they're adorable.
Puddles are pretty cute.
Yeah, puddles or Pawawas. You ever seen a Pawawa? Oh man, Pawawas are pretty cute. They don't, they don't get the fully longer face, but they get a little shorter one. But it ain't flat like a pug. I've seen puggles. I've seen Pawawas. I've seen Peagles.
That seems like a good combo.
Yep.
But yeah, it's all the fault of the AKC.
Mm-hmm.
Not the AKC.
There's a breeder that's breeding the flat faces out of pugs. A lot of respect for that dude. Yeah, I mean they definitely like didn't always have the. Paul, I heard all you do here is ban people. I made you a moderator, and then I unmodded you. I did something different. No, I'm not banning you. There you go. You heard right. All I do here is ban people. I love that, like, I have officially stolen like 20 to 30 seconds of every troll's time now. Because they show up with profile pics. Oh man, life is but a dream.
I wish when you banned people, they all went into like their own separate chat rooms so they could drive each other insane.
That is I've put this forward a bunch of times. The shadow ban is absolutely the way forward. Like they should get rid completely of blocks and bans completely, and just implement a like on every social media a shadow ban where the person has absolutely no clue that they're banned. From what they can tell, they're still being seen. It would be especially fun here on YouTube with what you just talked about, like creating like a naughty users chat room that's just filled with banned people.
Yeah.
Put them into troll purgatory. Yeah. Can I ban you? It would be an honor. There you go. Happy to help.
Shadow bans drive them more crazy.
Yeah.
They want the hard ban because it's instant gratification.
Because it means you had to touch them.
Yeah.
It means you had to look at what they did and touch the poop. But a shadow ban though? Oh my god. I do that on Twitter. There are probably like a good 100 people on Twitter that tweet me constantly, and I never see a thing that they say. Twitter gives you that like mute function. That's all you need. Like that's as complex as it needs to get. Unfortunately, I'm still in discords with that Aussie Trump supporter. Another reason I hate Australia. What? What Aussie Trump supporter?
You overestimate Paul's memory
Yeah, dude.
significantly.
You really do. I'm sorry, but don't remember a fucking thing about what you're talking about. The sins of the trolls cleansed in the fires of purgatory. Yes. Yes. Exactly. It's best to just like assume that I forget about something the next day, because that's typically the truth. It's odd. I've been recently, and this is like the first time I've even really had the kind of like itch to do it, I guess, or like the impetus to do it. I've recently started to like watch some old clips of like DP, like the DP days, and it's just odd, man. It's odd watching it. It's interesting, but it's very odd. And I think that one of the things that I got burnt on because of DP was like staying immersed in the constant meme culture of that show. The bias against you is quite apparent. I don't know. I don't really notice that. I haven't watched enough to notice that. I'm just looking at clips. I guess DP has like an official clips channel now. It's got some of the old stuff on it, so I was looking at some of that.
And that's what made me sick of it eventually. Was like if you missed something, there was like a whole like drama undercurrent you're supposed to still be like in tune with.
Yeah, it was very soap opera esque, where yeah, you were expected to like know the twists and turns of all the little dramas that are going on, all the little sub clans and little groups within the fan base and detractors and this that.
It's like with DFF, you can just hop in literally whenever. There's no like, there's occasional like repeating threads, but they're not so complex that you don't get the gist of it.
Yeah. And I think that honestly, the other way around, I think it just provably, it's like you're going to attract more people with that narrative type of thing. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's harder for performers to like stay excited about having to do that. Mm-hmm. Like with DFF, it's kind of like what are we going to get? Even for us, it's kind of like something different every time. Mm-hmm. With DP, it felt like a fucking continuation of like the last show never ended. And there's a lot of people that they look back on, that era of the Drunken Peasants, and they're like, I miss that. But if you go back to the last month or two of, Drunken Peasants season 1 or whatever the fuck, everybody was pissed. Everybody was mad because, like the performances on our end were just like, we were just doing everything we could to like keep making fun of Brett Keane.
Mhm.
And I remember TJ kind of did this Hail Mary thing where he was like, look, I just want to redesign the show. I want to do something different. And we all agreed. Or when I say we all agreed, I mean Scotty and I agreed. I don't know that Ben necessarily agreed, but came up with a couple of new, like, little, I don't know, sub topics and little recurring things, and everybody hated them. Everybody just whined about how the show wasn't the same as it always was, and then we kind of went back to doing the show the same it always was, and I think people could just, like, sense how bored most of the cast was with it, and it just wasn't, it just wasn't there anymore. You guys think you will end DFF for a new shoe concept eventually? Maybe. I don't know. I think what's more likely is that DFF will continue to evolve. Like, we kind of designed DFF so that it didn't have to ever be one thing if we didn't want it to be.
Mhm.
It's like onion nuggets. We take something that we've been doing forever and put a few twists on it. You know what I mean? Change it up, spice it up for us. Brett Keane stuff got stale. Well, tell that to the 90,000 people that hit me up every day. See, that's another thing that people notice that I don't really notice. People say that, like, the political climate was so different during DP. Like, maybe it was. I don't really think it was. Like, I don't see a whole lot of difference in the political climate between 2015 and now. I certainly don't, like, see a difference in my politics from then to then. I guess I've, like, I don't know. I guess maybe I've evolved a little bit politically, but I feel like I'm still kind of in the same basket that I was, so.
I think maybe if anything, it was more like person directed back then, and now it's more politician directed.
Yeah. Probably. I mean, there were a lot of people that were used as proxies for political positions, and so you would end up arguing with somebody on YouTube about a political party or whatever the fuck. Whoa. YouTube just had a glitch. Viewers went down to 1. I was like, I guess it also shows that certain people characters, such as He Who Shall Not Be Named, how insignificant they really were, because when you all got bored, you dropped them like you always said you would. I mean, yeah. I think that was part of the problem, is that, and I'm not going to lie, dude, we had a lot of fun making fun of the manatee. There was a lot there to make fun of. But once we had done it for a couple of years, year and a half straight, every day, it started to really feel like we were just doing the same thing over and over again. And there was a large group of people who that's what they wanted. And I think that there was, like, a little difference. For them, it was one little show in their day. For us, we were, like, living it, creating it, living it, immersed in it all the time. And so we got bored with it months and months before everybody else did. And it became kind of this race to find a way to make it interesting again. And I just can't do that anymore. Like, I can't jump back into the manatee stuff.
drama in general is just exhausting, I think.
Yeah. It really is. Interpersonal conflict or whatever. Britt still acts like the DP shit mattered. He says your debates with him were one-sided and gave him PTSD. Gave me PTSD too. PMSD. Post-manatee stress syndrome, dude. I have PMSD. I still do. Post-manatee stress. Oh! Hello. Hello, friend.
No, like a little Jack in the Box.
Boop. Boop. Come on. Come up here. Can you make it? Yeah. Yeah. Say hello. Look how fluffy he is. Oh my goodness. Look at how fluffy and pretty his coat is. Oh. He's a little bear. He's a little bear.
Whoa.
Whoa. You want to fetch one? I bet you only want one.
Give it to Mama. Come here.
Give it to your mama.
Get it. No.
He's so shag. Such a good boy, not barking at the neighbors. I know. I know. What a good boy. You want to give me that? Give me that.
He's a 1 or 2 fetch dog, man.
He is, yeah. Mind to start the smoke sesh without you? No. I'll be right back. That's a good point. That's a good point. Got 2 ledges and you're still on the water box. What you got there, D?
Want to do it again?
You're so fluffy, we can only barely see the ball in your mouth when you carry it. I can barely see it no more. It's covered by your floofs. Oh, is this dusted? Yes, it is.
That old Washington apartment probably costs like double now.
What do you mean?
As someone asked, like, how much you think the old Washington apartment costs, it's probably double now. How rent's been going up.
Oh, the one that I was living in?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever told everybody how much I was paying a month there. But yeah, I can imagine it's probably more expensive now. It was right in downtown Bellevue, like right there. You can actually look it up if you want to, since I and nobody that I know is there anymore. We lived in the Avalon Meidenbauer building in downtown Bellevue, right on top of a Safe Mart. And
Or a Safeway.
Safeway.
Mart's a little.
That's true. Safe Mart's California. Safeway. And yeah. Thought it was like $3K a month. It was more than that. Up, 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 up. I want want you to keep in mind too. Yeah, it was like $5,000 a month, all told. You know what I mean? When you took power and all the stuff that you had to pay every month to keep the apartment, it was $5,000 a month. It was basically what I was making. Like when I was with DP, I was living by like beyond the seat of my pants. But it was cool. It was neat.
But you would never live that close again to like your actual income and like what you're paying.
Nope. Fancy? No. It was a 1-bedroom apartment. 1 bed, 1 bath, with a stacked closet washing machine. You know, the ones that are like tiny and stacked on top of each other. A washing machine on top and then a little dryer underneath. Yeah, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. One of the smallest apartments I've ever lived in. And I paid more per month there than I ever have anywhere else. Like my house payment when I owned a big, nice house with a pool was less a month by about half. So think about that.
Yeah, like that's like $1 million house payment or some shit.
Easily, yeah. It's like a, $700,000 or $800,000 house, maybe even more. You're really paying all for location sometimes. That's really what that place was. There's no other reason why it was that much, but I will tell you this, dude, I've never lived in a place that was so self-sufficient in my entire life. That was cool. I really do think that kind of design, where you've got this like insanely good public transit, but you don't even really need it because downtown is designed so well that you can, within 10 minutes walk to pretty much any business or restaurant or venue that you want to check out. And then if you wanted to go over into Seattle, you hop a bus and 20 minutes later you're pulling into the underground train station in Seattle. You can jump right off the bus onto a train, have the train take you up the hill. It was crazy. It was crazy just like having the whole of everything at your fingertips. I've never lived in a place like that. Was the snow or temperature bad? No. It only snowed 1 time the entire time I lived in Bellevue. And from what I could hear from other people, it was rare for it to snow. Like once or twice a year, snow will come down and it'll stick for a couple of days, and that's what it was. It got cold the winter that we were there, and it snowed one day.
That heat wave they had last year probably would have sucked in there.
Can't even imagine.
All that money and there probably wasn't no AC in it.
Nope, no central air. $5,000 a month, no central air. No heat. But to be quite honest with you, you don't really need it. It was really a place where like you could regulate the temperature inside by opening windows and stuff. If it got too cold, you close the windows, and everything was dual paned and nice, so it would, heat itself up naturally that way. And if it got warm inside, we had these big box fans, and we would prop the window up in the living room, prop the window up in the bedroom, have one box fan pulling air in. So you would do like the one in the living room pulling air from the outside in, and then the way that the thing was designed is like the living room, and then you'd go up and around a corner, the bathroom was there, and then the bedroom. So it was like a big U-shaped. So in the bedroom we would put the box fan facing out, so it was like sucking air out of the apartment. So you created this like natural kind of airflow through it, and it would cool off super quick.
Probably still would have sucked if they had like
Oh my
110
god,
degree
yeah,
weather.
it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Like it got close to being a little more than a little uncomfortable when it hit 80 there, because the buildings were so insulated against cold that like 80 meant, it could get 85. Oh, hello, squirrely. We have a squirrel. Are you gonna eat that bird? Where are you going?
Diner, I think.
Yeah, he's like, nope, I'm out. That fence right there is like a wildlife passageway.
Yeah.
Yeah, the DP studio was on the, I think, 6th floor of the Meidenbauer building, or 5th. It was the top floor. And that studio had the coolest, this is just something, I'll rant about this, bro. Because as a dude that was on the outside of the decision-making process, let me tell you something that never made sense to me. That studio. It was beautiful, dude. It was a studio apartment in the Meidenbauer building on the 5th floor. I think it was the 5th floor, whatever the top floor was. Beautiful view of downtown Bellevue and the bay, or whatever they call it, the sound.
The sound, yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Just like beautiful water view. You could see all of the downtown buildings. You could see, what's the big mountain there? The Mount, not St. Helens, but whichever one. You know what I'm talking about. You could see the mountain back in the background. We had water view. And from what you could tell from looking at the show, we filmed it in a fucking shitbox basement. Mm-hmm. I remember telling the guys at one point, I was like, dude, we should set up a camera that just points out this window. Mm-hmm. And when we go on break or when we're waiting for the stream to start, we can just have a live shot of downtown fucking Bellevue. Like, it's beautiful. Nobody has this view. Mount Rainier, thank you. Yeah. You could see Mount Rainier. You could see the mountain range. It was just a beautiful view. You know what I mean? Like, I've never been in an apartment that had a view like that. And like I said, from what you could tell watching the show, if you've never gone to the studio, we were doing it in somebody's shitbox basement. You could, like, because you can imagine, my apartment on the 2nd floor, I was on floor 2, right above the grocery store. $5,000 a month. What do you think a studio on the 5th or 6th was with a view like that? I don't know exactly what they were paying at that point in time. I've never really asked, but I'd be willing to guess it's about $8,000, give or take. $7,000 a month for a studio. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like you could have done that shit that like some talk shows do, where they have like the fake background, but just make it a real background.
Yeah. I mean, like, though it was a studio apartment, so it only had one big picture window.
Yeah.
We could have set up the podcast around it to where behind at least a couple of the guys was the window. But the way that the room was set up, it definitely had to be the way it was, long ways. Mm-hmm. But we could have easily, because right where I sat at the end of that table. My spot was at the end of that table, right next to the window. Mm-hmm. And so, dude, when I got there, I would fucking open that window all the way up, because I knew that the whole night that I was sitting there, all I had to do was glance over and I could just see that beautiful view. Mm-hmm. And at night, it was even more spectacular because, all the skyscrapers and stuff in Bellevue are all lit up, and then you can see across the sound to Seattle, and they're all lit up. It just looks like it was just unreal. And I could not believe that we didn't take advantage of that in any way. You know what I mean? We could have gotten like a drone guy to come out and like film some stuff of like what our view looks like from the outside of the fucking thing, and then had it like into the studio, and that would have been so cool.
It's like, yeah, someone could have figured out where you were, but like anyone
they did
that
anyway.
Does that, yeah, it's like it's
people did anyway.
Anyone that's autistic enough to figure out where you live isn't gonna do it through the fucking window view.
Yeah. And it's just like most people, like, number one, you couldn't even get into that building without a key card.
Mhm.
So like you could, like if you wanted to harass us or something and show up, the worst you could have done would have been to like hang out outside that building. And I'm telling you, dude, that place did not fuck around because of the way we looked. Because we all looked like a bunch of stoner hippies, we were approached constantly when we would go down to smoke outside that building by security people and fucking management people. Eventually they knew that, like, oh yeah, these are the guys that they live here. But dude, when we first, like, especially when I first moved into that building, dude, I was constantly, can I help you guys? Nope, just live here. Heading out to the garage. Okay.
Imagine if you were black, dude.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know how that works in Seattle. Like Seattle, I didn't get a flavor for what their particular brand of racism is there.
There's not many black people. So-
There were a lot of like Asian people. And when I say
Yeah.
Asian people, I don't just mean like East Asian. I mean
All Asian.
Southeast Asian, Indian. There were a lot of like ethnic folk. So I didn't really get the like it didn't have the same kind of like racist connotation that some of the other places that I've lived
The
with.
fucking worst experience my stepdad had with racism was from a Chinese lady.
Yeah. Well, as it turns out, you know, white people aren't the only folks that have problems with that. That's shocking for some people to hear, but racism is global.
It doesn't just go one way.
No, it don't. If you look rich, it probably doesn't matter what your skin color. No one is going to stop a guy dripping in diamonds. Yeah, you're probably right about that. But like, if you took me, right? Because I didn't, like, I just told you I was spending pretty much all my money on rent, so I didn't have money to drip. You know, I didn't even have money to get a car while I was there. Luckily, I didn't need one, so I dressed exactly like I dress now. You know, it was hoodies, sweatpants, old sneakers. You know what I mean? And so I definitely did not look like the average person that lived there. My neighbors, and it was a very private place too. It was not a place where you found yourself all together like bumping into people constantly or anything. It was set up very much like a, when we're out in the public areas, we ignore each other. You can't see anything about my apartment. You know, the hallways in there were just like infinite long hallways that looked exactly the same. I actually like conceptualized a horror movie because of the hallways in there. The horror movie that I one day want to write is all because of that building, the Avalon building. Because there was something about the like banality of evil that stuck out to me. It was just like that, not that it radiated evil or anything, but it was just so banal it looked like it should be. You know, it was nice, but uniform in a way that was just disconcerting. You walk in a hallway and you just look at it all the way down it, and it's just uniform doors all facing each other. Boom, 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 boom. And then you go down to the end of that hallway and make a left, and it's another hallway, exactly the same. It's like, whoa. Because it was a square building built around a courtyard. If you look at it on Google Maps, which I'm sure some of you creeps have done since I mentioned it, it's a square building that's built around a central courtyard. But the courtyard is off the ground level. So they built a whole grassy courtyard area on top of the grocery store. So I was on the same level 2 that courtyard was on, and so it was just this big long square building that just like if you could do laps around it. Like if you just kept going left, you would just walk in this infinite loop where the only difference was one of the hallways had an elevator at the end of it. You know what I mean? That's the only, like if they took that elevator out, you would just be trapped in this hamster wheel, you know? Yeah, pretty crazy. That is a very memorable building for sure. I'll never forget it. Like I could get around that building, and here's the thing: because of how it was constructed, there were actually two towers connected by a skyway. And so there were two. There was the courtyard Avalon building that I lived in, and then the studio was in the tower. So you had to go up to level 3. So I would go from there were a couple of ways I could do it. I could go down to the garage and go to the internal elevator that went up the tower, and that's usually the way I went because I felt it was quicker. Or I could go up to level 3, walk all the way around the square part of the building till I got to the skyway, and then go from the skyway across to the tower, and then get in another elevator and go to the top. So you can tell which one I used. I went down to the sub basement garage and then walked across the parking lot, the underground parking lot, got in the core elevator that went up the tower. When I went to work, that was my trip to work every day. So, but I could still, like, if you drop me off in that building right now, I could get around it. But if you move into that building, you are fucking lost. It makes no sense. It's a very odd building that it's very easy to get lost in. I asked the lady when I was, I totally offended her. Well, maybe not offended her, but just asked, like, I guess, an impertinent question for such a high dollar address. Because when she took Ashley and I on a tour before we signed the lease over there, I asked her, I was like, did this place used to be a hotel? Because I was looking at those hallways, you know what I mean? And it looked like a hotel hallway, but with no decorations. And she, like, was taken aback by that. And she was like, no, this was built as a residential. I was like, oh, no offense intended. It just, these hallways are very, very stark, very uniform. But the little, the little apartments, they were nice, man. But once again, nothing special. I didn't have a balcony. So in a lot of ways, the shitbox apartment that I rented in Texas was nicer. In a lot of ways. Number one, it had full-sized hookups. So I could put a full-size washer and dryer in my Texas apartment. Had a balcony, private balcony that I could go sit out on and smoke and get some air, and I could see the sky and some trees and stuff. You know? I didn't have none of that. I couldn't even really open my windows, much less walk outside of the building unless I went outside of the building.
Yeah. Like, if you're looking for apartments, I think the balcony is the most underappreciated feature.
Most little apartments have them now.
Yeah.
Like the ground level will have a little courtyard area, and then the upper levels will have a little square balcony. And you don't need much, but I'm telling you, man, being able to step outside and be outside but still on your property, big deal. But, I don't know. I don't know why I like talking about that place. I think it's just because I feel like I actually got a taste of something that really wasn't meant for me. I got to live for a year in a place where rich people live, and I was doing okay, but I definitely was not wealthy enough to, I don't know how they gave me that lease.
It was probably just because they had the studio.
They didn't even know we were connected.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-uh.
Huh. I don't know.
And if they had known we had a studio in that apartment, they would have fucking kicked us.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. That was not a commercial fucking have your workspace here. That was a place somebody was supposed to rent and live. So if they'd have found out we were filming a podcast in there, and that's all we were doing, like we weren't living in it, oh boy. I'm pretty sure there would have been problems. But yeah. Because I had the audacity. That might have been what it is, dude. When I think back on it, I walked into this hoity-toity, waspy, work a day, 9 to 5, upper crusty, middle management, upper management kind of building with my big old poofy beard and my hair all whatever it was at that time, shaved or growing out or whatever it was, wearing a hoodie and, just like cheap ass clothes. And I had my, 5'1" cotton candy haired girlfriend with me. And I just walked in and I was like, I want an apartment. I want an apartment here. And by the end of that day, I was signing papers on it. I don't know how I did it. Yeah, dude. I think that one of the things that I've learned in the last 5 years, and I think that the dating Ashley was one of the things that helped me learn this, was like, it doesn't matter. Tattoos don't matter anymore, and hair color doesn't matter anymore. Like if you're gonna, I guess if you're gonna work in like some kind of hoity-toity upper management type of job, but like back in my day, dude, if you had pink and blue hair, nobody was hiring you for shit. You couldn't get a mop job. If you had tattoos all over your hands or neck or face or piercings like that were visible, dude, you would be hard pressed to get like a stock job after hours. You know what I mean? And now like that just on the level of like normal folks working normal jobs, that has gone away. Nobody cares anymore. Piercings, wild hair colors, visible tattoos. You could work at a record store or a head shop, right? Like,
I think it was just sheer persistence. Like, just so many people got it that they're like, we just literally can't hire anyone if
yeah,
we don't.
Yeah, it used to be like a counterculture thing, where it wasn't like back in the '90s when I was a teenager. There were a couple of people that would do that punky weird colors in their hair, and they were just and usually they would do more than just color their hair. Like the dudes that I knew, there was a couple of dudes at my school that at one point or another tried to come to school with Liberty spikes, which is a punk look that you don't see a whole lot anymore. But it's just like you take somebody that has long hair like me, or maybe a little shorter than me, and you get the drift, right? You just fucking spray it and mousse it, and they would color it. And mohawks. So typically it would, like the colored hair would come with a hairstyle that was non-traditional as well. The people really like the closest that people came to the weird hair color on a normal kind of like haircut was the bleaching. That was everybody. All the dudes did that. So, but that wasn't, I don't know. That's a little different than pink and purple two-tone hair, or like visible tattoos on your arms and hands and stuff. All that stuff was very much. There's a reason why my one and only tattoo is right here. You know what I mean? I didn't just like look at that part of my body and go like, that's exactly where I want a tattoo. Maybe, it's not a bad choice, but it was definitely factored into like, it has to stop here because that's where my sleeve stops. Because I worked jobs where like if you had a tattoo that was visible on your arm, that was no. I remember there was a dude that had a tattoo that came down too far at Starbucks, and they used to make him wrap it. He had to put gauze around his arm every day to come to work.
Which looks worse.
Yeah. It looks like he's wounded.
Yeah.
So, at a Starbucks, right? And you go into Starbucks now, you're hard pressed not to find somebody all tatted out with pink hair. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa. So that's one of the things I really had to like learn to let go of. I thought it was a way bigger deal than it was, Oh, weed, please. Holy cannolis. My ex-boyfriend bleached his hair and it looked like shit. Never understood why people do that. I mean, I think when you get a little older, and I'm not trying to, back in my day, you were whatever, but I think when you get a little older, you'll understand. Because, dude, I look back at some of the stuff that was cool in the 80s and 90s, and I'm just like, dude, if somebody dressed / did their hair like that now, they would be laughed at. But back in the day, people thought they looked fresh, you know. You'll just know that like fashion is constantly changing. It references itself constantly, and trends come and go. But what is cool, like just by necessity, what is cool now has to be lame 20 years from now, because 20 years from now, it'll be the fashion of somebody's parents. You know? Yeah, puka shell necklaces. Yeah. You see those a lot anymore? You really don't. Puka shell necklaces, cargo shorts, jorts in general used to be fucking, dude, jorts were good. There was a brief but very solid period of time where it was cool for dudes to wear overall shorts. I'll say that again. Overalls, meaning with the bib, shorts.
With crop tops.
Well, maybe not in concert, but yes, sometimes crop tops as well. If you want an example of this, both actually, crop top and the overall shorts, go watch the movie Class Act. There's a character in that movie, I can't remember what he is, but he's the big, you'll see him. He's the big bully oaf in the movie, like the big guy that's always trying to beat everybody up, but he gets gaffled before he can beat anybody up. I can't remember what his name was, but he literally wears that. He wears a crop top with a pair of overall shorts with one strap down. You know what I mean? So you only got one strap pinning the bib up. And that was a dope look back in the day, you know? And now if you walked out of the house looking like that, you would literally be the center of attention in a bad way.
Yeah. That's like a bunch of horror movies around then. There's all those crop top guys in jorts.
Yeah. It's crazy.
You know what the thing was when I was in school? Like cutting your shirt so that it was like open on the sides.
Yeah. My mom, that's actually a holdover. What used to be popular in like the 80s or 90s, they would cut up their shirts up the side,
Yeah.
and then cut strips.
Oh,
and then
tie
tie
them.
it.
Yeah, they would do that too.
My mom would do that to every one of her shirts.
Yeah.
She would take a t-shirt, cut the arms up, tie it up, cut the sides out, tie it up in nice looking little knots, you know what I mean? And just make
it came back.
Yeah.
Apparently.
See, that's what I mean. It's constantly referencing itself. I'm not a dude that knows a whole lot about fashion, but fashion as a concept has always interested me, and I think I can appreciate, you know, high fashion if I look at it, because it is this endless art form that is constantly, more than I think most other art forms, referencing itself over and over and over and over and over again, reinventing itself. What's old is new again. That's like a fashion term.
It's like the only other art form like that would probably be like movies.
Yeah, I see the parallels. You know what I mean? And you can actually track fashion in film.
Yeah.
Just like when I made that reference, what did I use? Yeah. You know, when I wanted to give something for people to look up, I referenced a film.
You want the crop top to come back for dudes?
I don't care. I won't wear it, but I don't care. If they want to wear it, I'm down. I think it probably will come back. What fashion icons culture will the 2010s be remembered for? Definitely hip hop. Hip hop has dominated the fashion world, dominated the music world, and in its own way really dominated the movie world when it comes to soundtracks and references and crossovers. for the entirety of the 2010s. And that really started earlier. So it's part of a wave that started in the very early 2000s, late 90s, when this transfer started to happen from alternative punk and grunge and pop to hip hop. And so 100%, you know, the 2010s will be remembered for the boisterous, expensive fashion, the luxurious kind of stuff that you see rappers wearing, you know. Snapbacks, fresh snapbacks, fresh white tees, big jewelry, big pointers in your ears, grills. Grills really were kind of born in the 2010s, or really came of, you know, that's all part of fashion, you know, the jewelry and the fit. Sneaker culture is huge right now. Like, you know, the 2010s, 2000s will be remembered for like a real like revitalization in sneaker culture. Now there are people that like collect old sneakers, and you can buy a really expensive pair of like Nike Air Maxes and then send them off to a dude, and he'll customize them for you, like do a custom color dip and you know, relacing and re-eyelet and make, like, you know, customization. I really honestly think that that is going to be a hallmark of the 2010s, this idea that you can take something and make it your own, which is not a new concept in fashion. We were just talking about cutting up t-shirts.
Yep.
Same shit, different day.
Little buttons.
Yeah. Bedazzling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of people laugh at that now, but dude, everybody had some bedazzled ass shirts for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And bedazzled jeans.
Yeah.
With bedazzled little hearts on the butt cheek, you know?
Yeah.
People make fun of it now, but I'm just telling you.
I think the worst trend in like the early 2000s was like those super low rise jeans.
Oh, the ones that like
basically show your pussy.
Yeah. Right. Like if you bend over the wrong way, just everything's out there for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those were a response to the high-rise jeans that were popular in the 90s, and now everybody calls them mom jeans.
Yeah. I think they're coming back, though.
I thought, well, because they're comfortable in a way that those low-rise jeans aren't. You know.
They call them boyfriend jeans now, too.
Yeah. Boxers over jeans. I mean, I don't really think that's going to happen, bro. But you can call it if you want. You're saying by 2030, boxers over your jeans is going to be the hotness. Dude, showing off your boxers is already a thing. Dude, people, like, look up sagging. Because it's not something that, like, people will still do it a little bit, like wearing oversized pants and sagging them down a little bit. But, dude, look at sagging in the late 90s, you know, early 2000s. Some people sagged to a point where it was just an impediment that they were even wearing jeans.
Yeah.
And I'm not even
whole ass.
The whole ass, you could see the bottoms of their legs underneath the boxers, under the rim of their pants. We're talking dip dap sagging, like sagging all the way. Where you had to hold up your pants by just grabbing the crotch of them constantly. Sagging all the way down.
Quadruple XL shirts to go with them.
Oh, yeah. Drowning in your shirt. Drowning in your shirt. Sagging your pants all the way to your knees. Walking around like, kind of like impeded by your own fashion, man. It's dope. I liked it. I never sagged to that extent. In fact, as a fat kid, I couldn't really sag much. You know what I mean? You got it's hard to sag when you're fat. But that used to be the thing. They took the pejorative. People were like, "Oh, you're wearing these baggy, saggy pants," and they turned it into like, "Oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm sagging." You can hear it all in the rap from that time too. References to how hard they're sagging.
I was like, wasn't that kind of like a poor thing too? It's like, you know, hand-me-downs not being the right size.
No,
no, you don't think it
I don't really.
that way?
Maybe it did. maybe it did, but I'm telling you, man, the pants that these dudes were sagging were not hand-me-downs. Dude, fresh white tee, that's forever a classic. Since like when I was a kid. Fresh white tee, you got to have that new looking pair of pants. And they would sag like khakis. So people would iron their shit.
Yeah.
So their pants looked fresh. Your sneaker game had to look fresh. It definitely, like, if they were hand-me-downs, they were taken good care of. It was a statement, you know? Guys wear tighter shirts and tiny shorts that show some boxers now. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not 100% up to date, but when I was in high school, there were juggalo kids that had shitlock dreads, and they looked like they had a helicopter blade growing out of their head. Yeah, that was Twisted. Twisted did that. You can thank Twisted for that. They were an ICP adjacent band. They were on whatever their record label is, and they did that. You know, they had the like braids and the weird dreadlocks on the top of their head. How fat were you as a teen? I don't know.
Fat enough for meth.
Yeah. I probably could have lost a lot of weight had I gotten into meth.
I mean, like the meth they gave you as a kid.
Oh yeah, you mean like the fin. Yeah. No, I was chunky. I wasn't like, you know, the fattest dude you ever saw or anything. I'm about as fat as I was now. You know, I'm not the fattest guy that you ever laid eyes on, but I'm definitely not in shape. That's basically where I've existed since high school. Yeah, no, I was one of the unlucky kids, and probably one of very few children that were ever given it. But there was a miracle drug in the early 90s called fen. It was phentermine and something else, and it was a 2-part drug that was combined into one drug that was supposed to help people lose weight real quick, and it worked. But after they started giving it to people, they found out that it caused people to blow like heart valves, and it would cause holes in your heart. And so I was on that shit for like a good 6-8 months.
And it was basically fancy meth.
Yeah, and I lost a butt ton of weight. A butt ton. But I was like, also just like I was insanely methed out. I was just like, couldn't sleep, didn't want to sleep, lost a bunch of weight, and then the doctors were like, oh yeah, this is dangerous, we got to take you off of it. And I was just like, oh.
I wonder if that's what they mean, like, in, what's that fucking Requiem for a Dream? Wonder if that's what the mom's on.
Yeah, it's definitely in that. I don't know if it's meant to be phentermine or whatever, but it's definitely in that diet pill family. It's all basically just speed. Vyvanse. I don't even know what that is. You said you lost a bunch of weight on it. Senior year, X or ecstasy was the big thing. That was the year Requiem for a Dream came out too. Yeah. I remember, I don't really think ecstasy was like hugely popular until I was out of high school. I definitely heard of it in high school, but it wasn't something that I knew a whole lot of people that had tried or that you could get. So that party drug was, at least in my area, I'm sure it was expansively available in other areas. Otherwise, it never would have spread there. But I lived in, a shitty little cow town, so
Did you say like they're annoying as fuck on ecstasy too?
Yeah, I've babysat friends on ecstasy, and it's just like that's enough for me to not want to really do it. People are just so fucking. I don't know. I'm a little salty about it because I've been in, like, put in strong armed into positions where I'm babysitting a fucking whole party filled with people who are rolling, and they're just the most annoying pieces of shit. It's like everything is all fascinating to them, and they're sitting around, they're just like holding each other's hands. And is it an upper? It's an upper combined with another kind of drug that I couldn't explain to you. I'm not a pharmacologist, but MDMA is the name of the drug. You can look it up.
Probably like a good like fictional analog would be like a love drug or something.
Yeah, it just makes everybody all like, well, mellow, and it sounds great, but I'm just telling you, man, like from the outside looking in, it just looks like a fucking lame.
Pawn at each
Yeah.
other.
Ooh, playing with their own hair and listening to sounds. It's like makes for a pretty lame party.
Cringe DA.
Yep. But whatever, you do what you want, man. I'm not here to tell you to do things or not. You gotta make that decision for yourself, but drugs weren't a big thing when you were in high school. I mean, they were a thing when I was in high school. I don't know how big they were. Everybody I knew smoked. Like that wasn't even really considered a drug even back when I was in high school. Like amongst most people, there were very few people like my parents that looked at weed in that way. But like amongst the younger generation, nobody was like, "Oh man, you guys seen Kyle? He's strung out on weed. He's on the devil's lettuce, man." Nah, nobody. There was none of that. No moralizing about weed. So drugs were other things. Pills and ecstasy and coke and mostly meth. My mom just got into weed, feels weird. That's cool.
It's like it's just mostly like beer, honestly.
I mean, it's even less destructive to the body and overall lifestyle than beer. A lot of people will sit and become alcoholics on beer, you know, destroy their whole lives on beer. You can't really do that on weed. It just doesn't. I mean, I guess you can take it so far that you're incapable of doing things, but you'd really have to try hard. Whippets, yeah, you're right. I went through a phase. That's probably the most regrettable drug thing that I've ever done.
Maybe the balloon thing.
I had a friend that he was like a really bad stutterer. He was our friend. We didn't make fun of him for it, at least not, outside of good-natured, friendly ribbings, you know what I mean? He was cool with us, but he was kind of a recluse. He was a nerd. It's weird. I had two groups of friends when I was in high school. I had, kind of a cool kid group of friends, and then I had a nerdy gaming group of friends, and there was a little bit of crossover, but not much. And he was in my nerdy gaming group of friends. And when we graduated high school, he went off to college immediately because he was fucking brilliant. He was smarter than all of us, obviously. He just, outdid us all and went off to college somewhere in the Bay Area. I can't remember where. He came back to visit like a year later, and it was a big deal for us, all us losers that were still in town, It wasn't even a year later. It was like, his first break was. And it's like the transformation was crazy. Like out of control crazy. He had gone from this like really reclusive, nerdy kid with a horrible stutter to this 90s stoner bro, like that. Didn't stutter as much, dressed completely differently, looked way more comfortable in his skin, and had a bong collection. We were like, huh? Like the Bay Area was good to him. But one of the things that he brought with him was a whole rig, like what he called a cracker, which is a thing that you put the fucking little whippet charger in. So it wasn't even like taking cans of whipped cream and sniffing it like some people do. This was like you get the shit that makes whipped cream and you crack it into a balloon. One of those, not a normal balloon, but one of those big rubber balloons that's meant to be inflated and deflated over and over. You put like 2 or 3 in there, fill it up all big. Then you pass it off to one person, and that person sits there and goes. And right about that moment, it pretty much feels like you die. Like your brain just shuts off. You go. And everybody in the room laughs, and like 20 seconds later, you're like, whoa, wow, man, that was crazy.
You're basically just depriving yourself of oxygen.
Yeah, it's basically just like depriving your whole brain of oxygen to the point where it's like almost dying, and then adding in an agent that causes you to get high really quickly and then wears off as soon as it gets out of your lungs. It's not a good thing to do. It's really, honestly, the dumbest shit I've ever done. No joke. But
it's like sniffing glue level.
Yeah. I mean, it's like maybe one step below huffing gas and sniffing airplane glue. One little hair below that. Yeah, duster huffing and shit. No. Can't do it. I had a couple of friends, one in particular, Water Noodle, that was into huffing. Water Noodle was a huffer, man. He huffed gas, he huffed paint, he huffed glue. He'd huff whatever he could get his starch. Whatever you put in an aerosol can is huffable. Man, you just never know, man. I remember chilling with Noodle, and it was just kind of like not in a mean way. It was just kind of accepted amongst our group of friends that Noodle either was gonna die before he got old enough to have kids, or was just gonna be a dude that was too fucked up. And the last I checked, Noodle, dude, I saw a picture of Noodle, and this was years ago, man. He moved away. I don't even want to bug Noodle, man, because the picture I saw of him blew my mind. It was like a Facebook picture that somebody showed of Noodle, and he was standing there with his wife and his little kid. And I was like, good for Noodle. Looking all like straight faced and Noodle cleaned up. You gotta love it. He pulled out of the nosedive. I mean, yeah, you gotta assume. I don't know exactly what went on with Noodle, but I know he's, at one point at the very least, he pulled up out of that shit. So good on him. Paul, can you give me a nickname? No. You don't want it. Trust me. Nowadays, the kids are huffing NFTs. Good one, bro. That one intervention episode, the walking on sunshine one, feels like I'm walking on sunshine. All dustered up. Yeah, I mean, it's sad, but hilariously sad. How do you get the name Noodle? The full name is Water Noodle. I think I've told this story before, but it's quick. We were all hanging out at his pad one night. His dad was at work. We were getting stoned and drunk, and we were all hungry. And it was before the days where you could call DoorDash at, midnight or whatever and get burgers delivered. And we were all too fucked up to drive. And Noodle was like, I got you, man. You guys want some ramen? And we were like, oh, yeah, dude. Some ramen sounds good. He's like, I got you, man. I'll make some ramen. So he like disappeared into the kitchen. And we, kind of just sat in the living room, just continued the sesh. And he brings out this pot, like a big ass pot, and just like slaps it down on the table. And this dude had boiled like a gallon of water and put like 4 bags of noodles, one for each of us in it. And then just like, that was it. It was just water noodles. It literally, they had no flavor of anything because there was so much water that like all of the seasoning disappeared into it. You know what I mean? And so he made us water noodles. And from that day on, we called him Water Noodle. TJ? Noodle. Yeah, you did. Weird, but whatever. TJ and I are just interchangeable. TJ. Even Water Noodle got in Patty's pants. Oh, that's an old story, man. That's deep lore right there. Peaches. Dude, my name is Peaches to my mom. I don't think that my mom has called me PJ or Paul. Oh my god, dude. If my mom called me Paul, I would feel like the closest I've ever come to that is when she's talking to people that she just met that know me but that she doesn't know. She'll ask them like, well, how did you meet Paul? Or, I'll hear her talking about me and calling me Paul, and I'm just like, ugh. But yeah, dude, when it's one-on-one, it's Peaches, dude. My name is Peaches. What are you gonna do with that? What a nickname. Almost named my dog Peaches. No one liked it. Sad days. Yeah, if she's mad at me, she calls me PJ. She never called me Paul. Ever. To me, I think Paul is just like inextricably linked to her ex-husband, my dad. That he's Paul. Like when she says Paul, she's talking about my dad. Unless she's meeting somebody that I'm introducing her to or whatever. Your sisters get nicknames? Yes. Not all of them, really. But yes. I'm not going to tell you what they are, though. That's a little weird. Why don't you go by PJ on DFF and the internet instead of Paul? Oh. I don't know. Yeah, it's I guess when I went out into the world and stuff, like when you go out, you move out of your house. Everything that you fill out, I can't put PJ. And so people are, you're filling out applications for work and you go in to meet somebody and they're like, hey, Paul. Okay. Paul it is, And my friends, too, they would call me Paul as well. Like, not all of my friends called me PJ. Some of them would call me PJ, and then some of them would call me Paul. So there was always a mixed bag outside of the house. So it never was something that I like directly identified with exclusively. But it's something that if I hear it, I'm looking around because it's my name. Be confusing on the show, PJ and TJ. I mean, it's a good alliteration, you know. TJ and PJ. Sounds like a morning zoo radio duo. TJ and PJ on 95.7 The Fox. TJ and PJ in the morning. They're crazy. 95.7 The Fox. Hey, everybody, good morning. It's TJ and PJ here on 95.7 The Fox, your place for classic and modern rock. And I gotta tell you, I hope you're not on the roads this morning because it's a doozy out there, isn't it, TJ? Well, that's right, Paul. Well, that's right, PJ. It really is a doozy out there. The traffic's real thick on, 14 and 385. We got Scotty in the chopper. Scotty? Oh yeah, TJ. It's a real mess down here. Traffic wall to wall and ball to ball. People are out here sweltering in the heat. You know what I mean? It sucks to be a shaved ape. Back to you. Thanks, there, Scotty. Morning zoo, dude. That'd be fun. Have a bunch of wacky sound effects. Wee. I always used 95.7 The Fox because it was the like classic rock radio station around where I grew up. And it's easy to say, and I've heard it said that way so many times. Dude, I wish that I could like do a stream where I hit the post. I guess I could do it on Twitch. That's one of my favorite little things to try and do is take an old song and hit the post. I think I've tried to do it for you guys a few times. It's an old DJ trick where you talk, you talk right up until when the music starts, like the lyrics hit. So like all these old rock songs like Smoke on the Water starts with like nah, 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 nah. So during that you're going 95.7 The Fox. It's a rainy day out there, so make sure you're careful if you're driving back and forth to work. I'll be here all morning kicking the tunes for you on the only place for classic rock, 95.7 The Fox. Smoke on the water. Fire in the... you got to hit the post. Like as soon as the lyrics start. So as soon as the song intro is done, you hit the post. That's what it's called. Howard Stern hated it, but he was a master at it. He used to make fun of it. He used to do it on his show. I actually learned to hit the post because of him. I know, like, he used to do like a thing. And I thought it was just such a fun little skill, Ooh, thirsty. I'll be right back. Thirsty. Galaxy News Radio with Three Dog. And it was definitely like, you know, a throwback to 70s and 80s DJs, and in a lot of ways 90s DJs as well. What you sipping? Just some water. You like your new house property? Okay, yeah, it's all right. It's a place to stay. It's a good, place to stay for a year or two until Amelia and I are able to find a property somewhere in the U.S. that fits the bill for us, and then we buy that, move, and stop with all the moving. Looks peaceful. It's a pretty peaceful neighborhood. That's why I'm trying to keep my voice down. Trying to avoid yelling and screaming when I'm out here. Does moving get easier the more you do it? Only if you tailor your life towards moving a lot. That means not keeping a ton of stuff, not having a ton of possessions to anchor you down. The less, the better. The less you have, the easier it is to pick up and go. And so I have, what I would consider to be a pretty baseline amount of stuff. And I keep it there because I don't want to fill an entire rental house full of stuff and then have to move it all. Like, that makes no sense. So yeah, the less attached to material objects that you are, the easier it is to move. It's never easy. How many states have you lived in for at least a year? So I'm born and raised in Cali. Lived in Arizona for a couple of years and change. Lived in Texas for about a year and change. Lived in Washington for a year. Lived in Louisiana for 4 years. So that's 5 states. Louisiana was horrible, by the way. Not, if you haven't heard me say that before. I've been living kind of that whole kind of move, shuffle around, vagabond kind of lifestyle for a while, and I'm really at a point, and I think Amelia is too, where the idea of having a little place that we can carve out and make it our own rather than renting somebody else's thing, you know what I mean, is what we're looking for. And when you're doing that, you want to be picky. And you also want to try and get at least a half-assed decent deal, And so in the interim, while the market is in a place where we really can't do that, we live here, And so you don't really invest much in living in a place like this in terms of like getting attached to it, because you're not going to be here. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's definitely a dream. You really want to buy your last spot? Yeah. Yep. I just want to have a home base, just a place where I can be, have my little family, have some animals outside, You know, Amelia and I both kind of want a couple of goats or something, big open pasture land so that they can kind of feed on that. Dino out there, you know, maybe looking to get in some capybaras or something. That would be really neat. Just, you know, a couple acres of land, a little modest house on it that suits our needs. Little studio space somewhere on the land. Rest of it just kind of like open prairie type land would be great, or woods. So, you know, not unattainable. The Sigma bunker, yeah. So, one of those things. Can you name one of the goats Bright Sky? No. No. What would you need to get capybaras? You would need to have a relatively warm environment. Like, so if we ended up settling in a place that gets a lot of snow, capybaras are off the table. Have to live in a more temperate environment. And if you're going to get them, they really need water. So building them like a pond or having a pool for them, like build a big outdoor pool for them. That's like the most important thing. That, and they're not solitary animals, so you can't really just get one. They get very lonely. They need to have other capybaras around to be happy. So you need to get at least a mating pair, you know what I mean? And then maybe introduce some different genetics and stuff and kind of like have them cyclically if you're going to have capybaras, because otherwise you end up with an animal that's just depressed. So kind of a commitment. You've really researched this. I mean, yeah. It's something that, like, if we end up in the right kind of climate, I'd definitely love to do. Having a pair of capybaras, I think, would be like, they're amazingly sweet, tame animals. They're just unflappable and just really cool. And I've always had an affinity for them, even before I knew what they were, because when I was a little boy, I went to this the local fair in Madeira, and there was, the House of Mirrors, and there was this and that, and there was this, like, see the giant rat. I'll never forget this shit, dude. They had this, like, background that was like this big, giant, monstrous rat. Unbelievable, a giant rat. You had to pay a few tokens or tickets or whatever the hell to get into it. And when you went in there, it was just this cage that was at the bottom of this, like, area that had a capybara in it. And he looked so sad and alone and tired. And ever since then, I was just like, wow, I didn't even know what that animal was when I was a little boy. I didn't learn it was a capybara until years later, but I've always felt an affinity for that animal. And so if I find myself in a position where I can make a good place, it's a ghetto bird. Hello, ghetto bird. Can I help you? Is he circling? Are you fucking kidding me? They're coming to take me away, haha. It's Scotty. Scotty's up there like, yeah, dude, that dude literally just like tracked right along here. It was like, and then got right in the front. If I was sitting straight forward, and turned around and went right over this way, staying in my field of vision the whole time. For what? Ghetto bird. We're watching you, boy. Subreddit has confirmed your location. They got me pinned, man. They got me nailed. What can I say? They're after the milk of uncertainty. How can you tell a ghetto bird from an EMT chopper? Well, that dude was hovering low enough for me to see what he was. So the only thing you can really mix a ghetto bird up with is like a news chopper, and only if they're really high. That was a ghetto bird. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'll see you later. Bye.